Good morning, and today's going to be 10-9 of spades. We are first act in the cutoff. We open raise, and we get two callers. This is a 10 NL game. So raise first in from cutoff looks something like this, pretty wide. These next two players, I think this guy's going to be have the wider range than this player. This player's playing 26% of hands versus 33%. We don't have a whole lot of hands on either. We do have some notes where he's called ace 5 suited from the blinds, called 3 bets out of position. He hasn't 3-bet yet. Called 2 bets 5 out of 21. So I kind of put together a range that looks something like this. It was about 17% or so. And then I removed queens plus ace king, closer to 18%, I should say. I made sure I added in all the pocket pairs since that's what a lot of callers will do. I think the suited aces are there, suited connectors, maybe some suited one gappers, but we've got our Broadway hands. Next guy is going to be a little bit wider. We do have some notes on him that he's called 2 bets from the blinds with 6-5 suited, queen 10 suited. He's got a 3-bet range of ace queen suited, king jack off. Not sure where that king jack off comes from, but this guy just in general appears to be a little bit wider. This will be his first call from the small blind. Yeah, we could possibly tighten up in the small blind, but I'm going to give him suited aces, suited kings, pocket pairs, and so forth. So the three of us see a flop of king jack 7, which isn't a bad flop for us. We've got the gut shot, we've got the flush draw. A lot of ways to bet, a lot of ways to win. Lead guy checks, which I kind of expected. So then, if we did top pair plus, if we bet top pair plus, do we have enough draws in our range to balance that? Let's see. So if we do flush draw open ender, it's 15%. If we do our gut shots, 2-card gut shots, guess I've got technically an open ender. So 2-card gut shot gets us to 28. That's a c-bet, 50% against 2 callers that'll likely fold. The c-bet stats are not, we don't have enough hands for it to be super reliable. Yeah, I think we could. I think we could add in pocket pair lower than the board, some of these small pocket pairs, to get us up to 38%. And that's probably good. That's probably a good c-bet range. We're going to continue probably with the spade. We're going to probably continue with an 8, with a queen. Ace is probably going to be worrisome. So I bet on the larger side. I don't really like that. Yeah, the larger size kind of suggests that I'm going to be a little bit better. When we look at our range, we are ahead. We are ahead over a lot of it. Kind of dip below negative equity down there. I think half pot is gonna work just fine as well. I think it's gonna accomplish the same thing as a 2/3 pot bet, and I actually kind of think a 1/3 pot size bet's gonna accomplish the same thing. If they're gonna call, they'll call. If they're gonna fold, they'll fold. Yeah, we could adjust our larger size, with the good draws. That's entirely possible, and I do think this is a hand that could justify the larger sizing. But in general, I think c-bet size on the smaller side would have been fine. We could do the smaller size, and then if none of the draws come in on the turn, we can size it up. So yeah, I'm not entirely thrilled with my bet size here. that's not me. Oh, I wasn't even on me. Let's do this again. Top pair plus. Yeah, that's what we have. We don't have. I don't think we have enough. Even if we add pocket pair below the board, and I think we're a little skewed on here with our kings. So we got blockers there. I think that's better. That's closer. Still gets us to about 50%. All right, so we're gonna make that bet. This guy folds. This guy calls. Fold the c-bet stat. In position 100%, out of position 0%. What is he gonna call with? I kind of think a check raise will happen with a set and with a two pair. So I'm going to do 50% on there. I'm going to do 50% on there. Just because I think that's a typical check raising range here. I think top pair calls. I bet middle pair calls. Maybe even pocket pair below that second card. Flush draw. We'll leave in the gut shot. I think those are the hands that are going to be calling. So now with the two of us, you can see that now I've got much better equity. I've got basically nut advantage versus this guy. So I do think with the nut advantage, it kind of argues for larger bet sizing, more polarized range and so forth. So turns a 10. Turns a 10, so you can see once I added that, you can see how it changed. To take the equity, now that the 10 comes, now it moves equity much, much closer. I think that's a bad card for our range. I think there's a lot of hands that Villain's going to be calling with that connect with that 10, gives them another reason to call. I think at this point when he checks, I think this is justified to check then. I believe that's how it would go. So he checks and I check behind. I think he's got his entire range, but then for us, what do we continue betting? I do think we continue betting our straights. Let's get these. This over. You can see the straights. We're going to have a little bit too much on the flush draw. I do think we could bet a flush draw too, but I don't think we're betting all of them. It's one of these hands where if we bet and get raised at this point, it's going to be kind of detrimental for us. We're going to be put in a bad spot. I'm really going to have to look at, are we getting the pot odds to call with our hand? Probably. Maybe. I mean, that 10 really just hurt a lot of our equity, because now if a queen comes out, we lose to an ace. We're really only looking for an 8, and if an 8 comes, then it's basically going to be obvious. Not obvious, but it's going to be a 4 card of the straight up on the board. The spade is probably the better of our draws. So I'm going to be curious what GTO says, but I think we could continue firing with our straight here. I think with the straight, flush is going to be calling. I think we could probably also bet with our set, because again, I think a flush is going to be calling. Maybe even like a queen, like king, queen, queen, jack, queen 10. I think we'll likely call again. So I think straight set 2 pairs going to be a decent bet. Overpair probably in our checking range. I think with the check, we're probably going to be check calling overpair and top pair hands. And then that kind of comes down to our draws. We've got 17% with the flush draw. I guess, I mean, based on our frequencies, yeah, we're going to have to include those and the open ender. But we could see that, like, King Queen, I think we're going to leave out because it's like a top pair hand. Queen Jack, I think is okay. Ace 9, we have an ace blocker on there. Having the queens work great as a blocker. Not sure if I necessarily like that. But that gets us a little bit closer. So we should be betting, I think, based on this analysis here. 9 comes out. I should say, I think that's what I should be betting. So let's turn this. We're going to X that out. And we're going to X these out. There we go. All right. And there we go. All right, 40%. So that's our range. Villain has everything. 9 of clubs comes up, giving us 2 pair. This is tough because there's a queen out there. He bets rather large. I don't think we could justify calling. I think when you look at straights, I mean, 46% straights. I don't even think set's gonna bet. I don't think 2 pairs gonna bet. I mean, maybe he's bluffing, but let's take a look at like his bluff hands. I'm not even gonna include top pair in a bluff hand. I'm just gonna say middle pair, and probably not even that weak pair. You could see overwhelmingly it's the straight that he's betting. Maybe the set. So I think this is a fold. We fold to him. There's 4 to a straight on the board. We missed our draw. Yeah, we have 2 pair, but I think it's going to be pretty obvious that he has a queen. I call. He does show the queen. He has a queen 10. So he's definitely going to be calling when we bet the turn, and I think that's kind of hand set that we're expecting. So I think we're just gonna go heads up here with our ranges, and I think let's check out what GTO says. All right, here we are. Set it up so he checks, and this is GTO's assuming heads up here, not 3-way. So we'll just kind of have to remember that. But it looks like we are betting, checking about 56% of the time. That means we're betting about 45% of the time. So looks like it actually favors the larger sizes. And it could be favoring the larger sizes heads up because this is a good flop for us. We've got probably nut advantage with kings. Guess we can go back to here. Let's undo this. Now we're running actually pretty close, at that spot. But GTO likes the larger size, so I guess that larger size was okay. But again, this is heads up, not 3-way. We're betting sets 2 pair, over pair, top pair. Not all top pair though. I think if we do all top pair, we're gonna have too many of them, and that's kind of what I took out King 9s, King 9 and worse. They're actually calling for King 10, so pretty close. It's the kicker. We've got some kicker problems there. We've got our flush draws that we're betting. Most of them, we're not betting some of the weakest flush draws. We have 10-9 of spades, so we're betting those. So yeah, I mean, we bet, and then villain's calling like he does, and our turn was a 10 of hearts. It was 10 of hearts, and it was a 10. All right, so it's planning for villain to check, and then we're betting about 48% again. And I guess I worked that out. So when we did 10 of hearts, so if we went through and did everything that I put down, villain's checking, and then here I had checking 40% here, betting about 60%. So maybe I'm a little bit higher on there. What's the difference? We're betting our straight, we're betting our three of a kind. Kind of expected that. Two pair, most of our two pair. And again, as I said, I think villain's going to have spades. He can have straight draw that he's calling. We want to get value from those. The overpair, I wasn't betting. So the overpair was going to be a check, and it was going to tie in with the check for the top pair hands. So I would have bet all of the two pair. GTO wants me to call with some of the weaker two pair, the king seven and the jack sevens, really. But bet the overpair. And then our draws, we're actually betting some of these nut flush draws. And here's our flush draws here. So we're betting some of our nut flush draws. We're not betting all of them. So we've got like ace 8, ace 9. Those are blockers to the straights. We've got ace jack, ace queen. So again, if we have ace jack and ace queen, we kind of block the king queen, the queen jack, jack 10 hands, which is pretty good. The 9s, we're blocking 10 9s, we're blocking 9 8. Same thing with the ace 8, we're blocking ace 8 8. Or I'm sorry, 9 8 8 7s. So I think we're playing with some blockers here for our bets. We had 10 9 of spades. 10 9 of spades looks like that should be a bet. 100% bet. And for this, it was a betting half pot. I didn't adjust these sizes. So, I checked behind. This was going to be a spot where we go ahead and bet. And let's see what I do. If I bet and he calls again, and then the 9 of clubs comes out, which I believe it was, if he checks to us, we're checking behind with our two pair. We're betting our straight, and I think that's probably what I would have done. Bet the straight, and then probably check for value with the sets and two pairs, because at this point, since there's 4 to a straight on the board, if I bet, what kind of hands are realistically going to call? I don't think queens are going to be calling. I'm sorry, I think queens are going to call, but I think it's going to be hard for other hands to call. For like one pair hands, maybe even the two pair hands are going to be tough. So we're not going to get value from worse hands if we bet the sets and the two pair and so forth. So we bet our straights, and then we bet, balancing some no-made hands, some weak pairs. So that's kind of what we should did. We didn't. We checked this, checked behind, and then villain bet here. And now it's a question of, do we call, do we fold? Well, with our two pair, villain saying we should be calling with our straights are set, and about half of our two pair hands is what we're calling. I mean, at least with the 10 9s, we were blocking some of those straight draws. We're blocking like 8 9. We don't really block the queens, and this is against a GTO player, because the GTO player is going to be betting some of these weak hands too. They're going to be taking advantage of the fact that we see bet and then check behind on the turn. That's kind of indicates a weakness. And they're going to attack. And it's one that I probably would attack too. I don't think I would have attacked with, these types of hands. I think I would have attacked with hands that like it completely missed. So missed flush draw, missed straight draw, ace high. I'm just targeting those hands. If I get called, I'm sure I'm beat. But he bets, and then we would be justified in calling with some of our two pairs. So I guess that's kind of okay for our hand, but we missed our turn bet. So it looks like GTO was on track for the larger bet size, the larger C bet size on the flop. So I guess that looked pretty good. And again, I think it's not necessarily equity edges or nut advantage, but this board just really hits my pre-flop raising range, or what it should be my pre-flop raising range. And again, that could change. This decision could change when we account for that third player in the pot. But then I think importantly, it's that turn. We should be betting the turn, and I kind of thought that that's what we should be doing when I worked through the Flopzilla. So mistake was not betting the turn again. He's calling, and yeah, we're already behind, but we've got quite a few outs. A queen comes, we're betting. We're gonna probably bet that. Let's change that. Let's see if that's what it is. We bet here. He calls. Let's give that a queen of clubs. And then he checks. Do we bet those? Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we're betting 10-9 actually. Is a check. So sometimes we bet, sometimes we don't. So some of our nines are bets, some of our nines are not. Most of our nines are not, I should say. So yeah, if a queen gets there, no, we're not betting our hand. If an 8 gets there, though, I bet we bet. So 8 of clubs, he checks. Now you can see we're definitely betting, and we're betting straight sets, 2 pair. Because yeah, now that you have, you still have 4 to a straight here, but I think 9's going to be harder to justify. I think it's going to be less likely that villain was calling with a 10-9 or with a Jack-9, 9-8. I think it's just less likely that he would be doing that. So now we could bet with our straight sets and our 2 pairs with the expectation that he's probably going to call to keep us honest. Probably call with some of these 2 pair hands and top pair hands. His kings, king, queen, king, jack, queen, jack, I think would all be calling. All right, so hopefully you enjoy the hand. Keep being aggressive on the turn. Don't check behind. When we look at, remember, we're still going to be betting for value, so we need these draws to help balance that, and that's what the Flopzilla. I'm sure my initial thought was exactly what I said earlier, which was I don't want to bet get raised and have to fold a good draw, but I need those good draws on my hand. It's okay to fold those. I need those to balance the betting ranges so that we've got our double barrel range. So hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, you can look tomorrow for another.